Hello friends, welcome to this YouTube video program. We are discussing about the use of different experimental method for conducting educational research. In our earlier program, we have discussed about some of the experimental design. And before starting this program, let me to just reiterate that what are the different methods that we can use for conducting experimental research. So that is what are the different design? Experimental design. Pre-experimental design we can use true experimental design, quasi-experimental design, time series design, and factorial design. In the earlier program, we have discussed about the pre-experimental design, and under pre-experimental design, we have discussed particularly two design, that is one group pre-test, post-test design is first design. Then the second design that we have discussed, that is two groups static design. So in this program, we will discuss about the true experimental design. That is the second type of experimental design that we use for conducting educational research. You see, true experimental design is highly used in educational research. As I have already told you in the earlier program that when we talk about the pre-experimental design, you see that is the lower level of experimental design, and when the researcher is not able to use the other experimental design, the researcher can conduct a type of experimental research by using the pre-experimental design. But when the researcher is using true experimental design, means he or she is doing a true sense of experiment here. So that's why this method is highly used, this design is highly used for conducting educational research. True experimental design brings control in terms of randomization and matching, history and maturation, measuring instruments and testing. You see, forming a group, and when we are forming experimental group and control group by doing proper randomization and matching, that is the one of the most important word for getting a true effect of experimental group, or true effect of an independent variable, effect of a treatment, that treatment of a new method that we are giving in our experimental research. So that's why this method is called as one of the good method, because we do proper randomization and proper matching. At the same time, we also use proper instrument for measuring and testing. So let us try to focus what are the specific experimental design that we can use in a true experimental design. So first design we can use, that is the two groups randomized subjects post test only design. Try to remember, I repeat it. The first design under true experimental design is two groups randomized subjects post test only design, and the second is two groups randomized matched subjects post test only design. The difference between the two is, in first design we are talking about only the randomized subject, whereas in the second design we are talking about randomized matched subject. So we will discuss detail about that, what is randomized subjects and what is randomized matched subjects further. And the third design that we can use in experimental research, that is the randomized groups pre-test post-test design. So here you see, in earlier two design we are not talking about the pre-test, that is the only post-test design, but the third design that focuses on pre-test and post-test design, means here we have to do the pre-test as well as the post-test. So friends, in this program we will discuss these three specific experimental design that's come under the true experimental design. So let us first focus upon the first design, that is the two groups randomized subjects post test only design. So friends, let us try to understand the conditions. As this has said, the name of the design is the two groups randomized subject post test only design. It means there will be two groups. One will be the experimental group and other will be the control group. Experimental group means to which group will give the new treatment to new method. Okay, we will do the experiment, and the control group to whom we will teach by using the traditional method or conventional method. Okay, then how to form the groups? You see in the design, experimental design, this has mentioned two groups, randomized subjects. So here when we form the groups, how you will form the groups? You have to do the you have to use the technique of randomization. So how to do it? Let your using, you are just trying to know the effect of MOOCs course, the effect of MOOCs, massive open online course, upon 8th standard mathematics in specially few chapters, or 9th standard mathematics in few chapter. Okay, 9th standard social science or science in few chapter. So what you will do? So you have to select a group of students first. Let in a city you are doing it. So in a city you have to first list the number of schools, how many schools are there. Then from the schools you have to take the 8th standard students or the 9th standard students as per your problem. Okay, then what you will do, randomly you have to select, let 100 subjects or 100 students you have to select randomly. Okay, so after selecting randomly 100 students, then you have to form two groups. Okay, so from the overall 100 students that you have selected randomly, again what you have to do, again randomly you have to select 50 students in one side and 50 students in other side, because you have to form two groups. Okay, so one will be the control group and other will be the experimental group. So friends, try to remember. So two types or two stages of randomization you have to do. First you have to take a large group, okay, taking the same age group or same standard students. Let you are selecting 100, then after selecting 100, again you have to make two groups, okay, 50 each. So randomly, by drawing, by using the random method, you can select 50 in one side and 50 in other side. And by tossing the coin, then again by doing the randomization, you have to assign one group or consider one group as experimental group and other group as control group. That also you have to do by tossing a coin or by doing any lottery method. So friends, after forming the group, the next work is the you can say the independent variable. So here you have to use two independent variable because you have formed two groups. So one group will be the experimental group to whom you will implement the MOOCs course, means you have to teach by using the MOOCs course. And the second group, what you have to do, you have to teach the same chapter, same subject, same content. Okay, everything will be same. Number of sessions, let you are teaching for 4 weeks, so 4 weeks for both the groups. Okay, not 5 weeks to one group, then 4 weeks to another group. Everything will be same, but here there will be the you have to use the conventional method. Okay, you have to use, you can say, the lecture or the discussion, problem solving, inductive or deductive method that you are using in your teaching learning process. Then you see you have to do the experiment. You have to use the new method and conventional method upon two groups. Then after completion of your experiment, after completion of your teaching, so you have to take to know their performance. Okay, you have to take a test, so that is called as the post test. So in the design, this has mentioned that two groups, randomized subject, post test only design. So you have to take a post test of control group and post test of your experimental group. Then you have to compare the mean scores of the post test experimental group and mean score of post test control group. And if you are getting that there is a significant difference between the mean scores of two groups, if the experimental group is doing better than a control group, then you can say that there is a positive effect of MOOCs, okay, upon certain content on the experimental group. But here the threat is the main threat is you are not doing any type of matching, only selecting the group by doing the randomization. You are not matching, subject to subject matching you are not doing. Okay, so that's why. And here also you are not going for any type of pre-test, only post-test you are taking. So that's why you are not comparing the score of pre-test mean and post-test mean. So that's why this is the weakness, this is the threat of this method. And in suggestion, I can say that this can be used for the children of lower classes where there is no possibility of taking a pre-test. So let you are using for third standard, fourth standard. So when students are not able to attend any type of pre-test, then you can use this technique, this design upon them. Now let us now discuss the second design that's come under the true experimental design, that is two groups randomized matched subject post-test only design. So friends, you see, in our first design and second design, only difference is here groups will be two. You have to select two groups. Then how to form the groups? There you are forming by doing only randomization, but here when you will form the groups, what you will do? You have to do the randomization. First you have to select 100 students from the same standard, okay, from the same grade. Then after you have to make two groups, okay. So when you are making two groups, how you will make the two groups? So here you have to do a type of matching, that's called as the matching. So for matching you have to do a pre-test. Let you have taken a type of achievement test, you have taken a type of intelligence test. So what you will do, among these 100 subjects, you have to take any two first, okay, any two, and you will see what is the achievement of the first students and what is the achievement of the second students. Let the achievement score of first students is 87%, and the second student is let 87.5%. So there is a very you can say little variation, only 0.5 variation. So that's why you can consider that they are the equal match. So what you can do, among these two students randomly you can put one student in control group and other students in experimental group. Again you are getting two subjects. Let you have made the intelligence as parameter. You are getting in intelligence score, one student is having 132 and other student is 131. So you can consider that both are equal, though there is a very little variation, little difference, but you can say that there is a perfect matching. But you see, you cannot do a type of matching. Let a student's achievement is means score is 45%, then another student's score is 60%. So here there is no matching, means one is the high achiever students whereas other is the low achiever students. So that's why you cannot keep these two students in two groups. So that's why you have to do carefully matching after randomization. So group formation is very much important in this experimental design, but all other things will be same. So here there will be no pre-test, only post-test, okay. So you have formed two groups, one is the control group and other is the experimental group. By doing proper randomization as well as proper matching, perfect matching of the subjects, okay, two matching. After two, then again you have to take two subject, again you have to take two subject. So accordingly you have to make two groups. Then you have to implement, or you have to do the experiment. To the experimental group you have to implement the MOOCs course, and to the conventional group you have to teach by using the traditional method, by using the conventional method. Then after implementation of both the independent variable, both the methods, then you have to take the post test. Then you have to compare the result of the post test. So if there is a significant difference between the mean scores result, then you can say if the MOOCs experimental group post test is better than the control group, you can say that there is a positive effect of MOOC scores upon the achievement of the students. But here the threat of this method is there is no pre-test. So here there is no scope of comparing the pre-test mean score with the post-test mean score. So this is the major drawback, major limitation or threat of this method. And again, the most tedious work is to compare or the matching the subject. So that's why here you are doing the matching. It is very difficult in proper matching, okay. So many a time perfect matching is a difficult task. So this is also another threat. But this can be used when number of children or subjects are very less, okay, because you are doing the matching. If the subjects are more than 100, then for matching one to one, it's a very difficult task. So when the number of subjects are less, you are doing an experiment taking 20 students, 30 students, then you can do this, you can do the matching. So friends, this is also one of the good method that you can use for conducting your experimental study. Next, let us try to focus the third experimental design come under the true experimental design, that is randomized groups pre-test post-test design. So here you see earlier the threat was we are not doing any pre-test in earlier two design, but here there is the scope of doing the pre-test and post-test. So here there will be two group, one will be the experimental group and other will be the control group. Then for forming the group you have to do the randomization, but there is no matching. In the second group we are doing the matching, but in the second design we are doing the matching, but in third design here we are not going to do any type of matching. So that's why only do the randomization. Means from the same subject, same standard, same age group, you have to select 100 subject first, then after randomly you have to make two groups 50-50. But here subject to subject matching you are not going to do. But what you will do first, before starting the experiment, you have to take the pre-test. Okay, pre-test from the standard, from the content that you are dealing. Okay, in which class they are teaching, in which standard they are teaching, taking from content of that standard. So you have to do two pre-test. Okay, pre-test upon the control group and experimental group. Then you have to implement MOOCs. You have to teach one group, experimental group, by using the MOOCs, and you have to teach by using conventional method to the control group. Then after completion of your experiments, what you will do, you have to take the post test. Okay, for both the groups. And what you will be doing, first you have to compare the pre-test of experimental group and post-test score of the experimental group. You have to see that whether there are any significance difference between the mean score is there or not. That is also in experimental group. Again, what you have to do, you have to see that even if in the control group, what is the mean score of pre-test and what is the mean score of post-test. So first you will get a clear picture about the effect of or the variations, the difference of means or the variations of mean scores in two groups. Okay, in experimental group as well as control group. Let as example, the experimental mean score is 30 pre-test, and experimental group post-test mean is 50. So it was 30 earlier, then after implementing the new method it got 50, means there is 20 difference of 20. Then in control group, let the mean was 25, then after implementing the independent variable, it got 25 to 35 as example. So here difference is only 10. But what you will do, you have to compare the control group with the experimental group with the control group. You see in experimental group, from 30 to 50 means 20 difference is there, whereas in control group 25 to 35 only 10 difference is there. So that's why you see difference between the mean scores of experimental group and control group is also varying. So that's why you can say that there is a perfect or there is a positive effect of MOOC scores upon the achievement of the students, because you have experimented it, taking the pre-test as well as post-test, and again you are comparing it, the difference of pre-test and post-test in experimental group with the difference between the pre-test and post-test of control group. So this is the beauty of this method, that we are reducing or we are controlling most of the errors, most of the threats that we have faced in our earlier design. But here one threat is no matching is done. You see, we are doing only randomization, we are not doing any type of matching. Subject wise matching, one-to-one matching we are not doing. So when we are not doing one-to-one matching, means we are not so sure about the equivalence of the groups. Okay, control group and experimental group. And by default, by chance, so when by using the randomization method, you have select first 100 subjects. Then again by using the randomization method, you have made it two groups 50-50. So you cannot say by chance, this may be the, you can say, error of any experimental, any random sampling selection, that one group may better than other group. There may be the chance. So if you are not doing any matching, then such chance will exist. So that's why if such chance will exist, then there may be the chance of getting a default result. Okay, you may not get or study the true effect. So that's why this is the major threat of this method and randomized groups pre-test and post-test design. But this method is a you can say is a best method in comparison to the earlier two methods that we have discussed in the true experimental design. So friends, in true experimental design we discuss about three different experimental design. So as a researcher, you have to find out what is the nature of your problem, and accordingly which research design is perfect for your program, for your problem. In our next session, we will discuss other method of experimental design. Thank you.